The next one is something that really has been bothering me as much because of disappointment in that interop thing. We started this year with civility and good intentions, and I think that the whole thing could have been handled differently if at the beginning somebody would have just said, I'm uncomfortable with an internet, an IT company that is 3.5 hours, 3 hours away, and I'm unclear as to what the association is with the town attorney, and I think we should look at getting somebody closer. That we could have had an open discussion that didn't contain the vitriol that it was, but instead there was a combination of letters to the editor and open comment, both from council members as well as in the Sentinel, that created a very tense circumstance that, like I said, I'm just sort of disappointed as how that has come down, and I have the sense that it's still smoldering. So for the sake of openness, I think, and because I know that my emails have been shared with the public, I'm going to read sections of those that I think are important for people to understand that there's an undercurrent, and my whole purpose of this is to try to get this thing put to bed and be done with it. So, in that meeting, if you remember, there was a heated discussion at which point I said I would form a committee of one to seek out local IT companies. It turns out VML doesn't provide that kind of service, but I did find a couple of companies that are well regarded in the area. Made 6 phone calls, including checking with Ken Hetzer as well as Kevin is yes, to see what they wanted to do and how to move forward. The generation of that created an email on the 15th of July that went through the litany of accusations that occurred both in public and in the Sentinel and here, and some good recommendations in terms of trying to get the town back to doing what the charter says, which I think is an important goal going forward. 1, thank Andy Burry for his services and inform him that we are going to in another direction and will no longer require services. And once the motion is made and approved, he is asked to leave the room and he may not be present anymore. That was one. Another one was to remove the current mayor from all committees, including HARB, dissolve all the committees except HARB and the Planning Commission, require a public apology for actions taken without the town council's consent, as well as any and all other slanderous remarks. Keep Holly on conditionally with an education requirement. Continuing education is a great idea for Holly. I support it 100%, but this also said that if she took a college course that she wouldn't be reimbursed unless she got a B. And then at Holly's direction, terminate or conditionally put temporary status on all new hires from January 1. Okay? So I responded to that. Let's see if there was something else here. And then, of course, fire net interrupt. I responded back to that email and said, I do appreciate your concerns, but I feel that your recommendations are unnecessary and severe. With regard to Holly, she needs our support, not our wrath. Continuing education is a great idea, but to require a B for us to cover the cost makes no sense. Then went on to say, the council approved a motion that should put this to rest. I do not feel continuing to litigate these issues serves the council, and it absolutely does not serve the town. I hope you can allow us to put this behind us and move forward. That was on the 17th. On the 20th, I got an email from a private citizen that said, I've read your response to Barbara Hartley's emails, providing suggestions for improving operations and processes for the town and our current administration. Let me say that I, as a citizen, do not want this to rest and move on, as you suggest, without all the issues being resolved. There's a right way, and it appears an Urbanna way, which doesn't look beyond the town's borders. In looking back at past minutes and the actions of past councils, there's no question that these councils, for as long as there's been a council, as far as I can tell, has not followed the charter. The issue is we need to get back to that, and that requires moving on to pick a certain point and then to make it the test going back to when that first started, I think is a mistake. Anyhow, I responded, I'm disappointed that you want to pursue this further. As I said to Barbara, I don't think it serves the community. Ultimately, that should be our goal. The exercise so far has embarrassed the council, mayor, administrator, attorney, and some citizens in terms of adjusting town process. I feel that same objective could have been reached politely and without fanfare. After reviewing the town meeting minutes of the last 2 years, I find the selectivity of the indignation to be more personal than principled. I think that also serves no purpose. Within an hour and a half of that, I got a text from yet another citizen that was just a suggestion. Don't underestimate the wrath of retired women on a mission. That's how 3 of you got elected. Until the problem is addressed and everyone knows what that problem is, the wrath will strengthen and the council will continue to lose supporters. Okay? So, this is all, the undercurrent here. At that point, you could say, well, the problem is net interrupt. The problem is that no council has ever followed the charter. The problem is people not willing to let things go and move on. But I will move on with the other emails. So, on the heels of that then, on the 22nd, there was an email that was much more reasonable. It still was fire Andy. It still was limit Diane. And it was continue education for Holly. Yay, Holly, you get continued education and no apparent penalty. So, let's see. Then, in response to that, I wrote back, when it comes to Holly, there are several comments. One of them was she needs to have all of us off her back so that she can do her job. We also need her to feel that she can tell any of us no without feeling that her job is on the line. Continued education is critical to her development. When it comes to the open outrage, I'm having trouble figuring out why now. In council minutes, and then I go into how there have been past things like the Thrasher report where the council, without reading the contract apparently, committed $30,000 thanks to Andy for getting it down to $5,000 where there was a $10,000 commitment. But there was the Thrasher thing that happened at the end of last year, and then I brought up Mayor Holberg replacing a fence at the playground without approval of council, without Holly signing the contract, and with Steve signing the contract himself. The reply I got to that was, as for Steve, yep, there were certainly problems there, and he and I went head-to-head about a few of them, and by the end of his term, I was not a fan. In fact, I did a write-in vote for mayor. So I went to the county website and looked up the election. And in the last election, there were 9 write-ins for council, 3 by absentee and 6 at the ballot time. There were 0 write-ins for mayor. So I don't know what to do. I guess Urbanna may have voter fraud issues, and Trump is right. Like I said, well, now, there was also a blistering email in the Sentinel impugning net interop. And to that, most of us got an email from Ken Hetzer that said, I've spoken to a couple of you, I would be included in that list, but wanted to send a note to all of how disappointed I am with the actions of one town council member, Barbara Hartley. If you have not read, please find attached the letter she submitted to the Southside Sentinel defaming the character of myself in net interop court. Not only did she submit it, but she submitted it as a representative of the Urbanna Town Council. This is not at all what happened, and I believe Diane and Holly would attest to that. While I have never sat on a town council, I have sat on numerous corporate boards, including for-profit and non-profit. Never did we have a director take off rogue like she has on this town's council. I do hope that the feelings of the council do not coincide with her continual portrayal of myself and Net Interop Corp in this letter. I'm not sure from a council standpoint what you can do to get her to stop the negativity about others and focus on positive direction for the town of Urbanna, but I would ask you to please take whatever actions are in your powers to remedy the situation immediately. There are many getting hurt right now, including the reputation of the beautiful town of Urbanna. Now, like I said, the whole purpose for going through this, I have, and we will discuss it in closed session, the contracts for a couple of alternatives to net interop. I also included in the packet net interops because it would be wrong for the town to not consider what they provide and for us just to, because of blistering comments about them, go off and not continue with them just because of that. They may not win the bid, but they should be under consideration because, in fact, they have taken the time to secure the system and make sure that we were protected. Additionally, I think it's important for everybody to remember that we're all volunteers here. Our purpose is to work for this town. I don't think there's anybody, no matter which side of these issues you fall on, that doesn't want the best for the town. But when it comes to personality conflicts and those things, they stop at that door. When you walk in that door, you put the town first, and you forget about all the garbage that happened before.
Next we have Sarah Gordon, an invited guest.
Doesn't seem like Sarah Gordon's here. So I'm going to continue on some points Dr. Goldsmith made. When I was young, I was taught that if you couldn't say anything nice, you don't say anything at all. But we have a perceived issue in this town, and that being the existing town council, mayor, town attorney, and town administrator have not been doing their jobs they were elected to or hired to do. That perception was created by Sarah Gordon. First with an attack on the current mayor in her letter to the editor of the Southside Sentinel on October 25th, and then on July 18th, attacking the mayor, town attorney, and town administrator, and the entire town council, with the exception of Barbara Hartman. Sarah Gordon does not exist. It's a fictitious name made up to cover the identity of the author. If a person is so fearful of putting their rightful name on a document, can that document be looked at as being truthful? I don't believe so. But digging deeper into the letters, it becomes apparent that it's not one person, but a small group of people disgruntled that their candidate or candidates did not win the last election. How do I know this? By the use of the letters like us, we, our, and many of us, all point to plural, not singular. I'd also like to admonish the Southside Sentinel for not doing their due diligence in verifying the source of any letter to the editor. Not to do so is tantamount to being exactly like the Russian troll farms pushing misinformation, conspiracy theories, or just plain outright fabrications to affect the outcome of an election. I believe a revision to the current policy for letters to the editor is in order to preserve the integrity of the paper. All letters should come with a verifiable name, email address, mailing address, and phone number. I want you to notice my use of the words perceived and perception. In the VML conference all newly elected council members attended this year, these particular words were emphasized. It is not whether it is the truth or misrepresentation, it is the perception of what is said or written. Ms. Gordon's letters are written in such a way as to give a negative perception of our current government. This is farthest from the truth. We are playing catch-up to move forward with items left undone in the past and looking to the future for the residents and the businesses of this town. But this Gordon group is adverse to that, and it is showing. One major issue this group has is our network security. Dr. Goldsmith has previously spoken on this topic, but I'd like to expand on it a little. Net Interop was brought in to assess our current system adequacy for a new accounting system. The system was found to be inadequate and was in fact vulnerable to attack. All residents and business personal information, all residents and business personal information was just ready to be exposed and used for illicit purposes or held for ransom. On August 20th, it was reported by NPR News that a coordinated attack by hackers had infected 22 smaller local government municipalities in Texas. Previous ransomware attacks in Florida demanded $500,000 to $600,000 to release their systems. And in the latest attack, Keene, Texas, has been ransomed for $2.5 million. I, for one, am appreciative that the mayor, town attorney, and town administrator took the initiative and made sure that our personal information and systems were protected. Also, it's not like we could advertise our vulnerability with RFPs. You just can't go out there and say, hey, we're vulnerable, give us a quote. It's an invitation to the hackers. The Gordon Group also wrote that the council needs to follow the town charter, the town code, and the Code of Virginia. That is a true statement. We as a council rely on the town attorney to guide us through these codes. That it's his responsibility and why he should be at all council meetings and work sessions. A past instance with a major lawsuit against the town makes my point. With the attorney's guidance, we have complied with all codes. To say that we haven't is a complete fabrication. As for the town charter, we have also complied. The mayor is the CEO of the town, which means the mayor administers the council's meetings. The CEO also answers to the board, which in this case is the town council. Other than that, it's much a ceremonial role. There's been no deviation from that, but the Gordon Group would have you perceive that the mayor is running rampant over the council and the town. The word perceive and perception is getting to be pretty regular terms in the speech.
The point was not that Net Interops was not a good company, and nobody ever impugned Net Interops as a company. The point was the process that was taken. And it was pointed out, the hurt and rescue, which is a sales ploy, which was absolutely used here. Now, this wouldn't have elevated to the place that it has if when the question first came up, it was simply answered. Instead of someone's trying to throw the people who brought it to our attention under the bus. Instead of just saying, maybe we shouldn't have done it this way. Instead saying this person must be fired and that person must be kicked out. Those are red flags that say, oops, maybe we made a mistake and we've got to cover our tails. If this had been handled honestly and openly in the first place, there would have been no room for any of this. And the fact that I know that you are saying this is Barbara Hartley's personal vendetta. This is not Barbara Hartley's personal vendetta. And you brought up, yes, I had, and I know they sounded punitive to you, but the way to solve this issue was we had to deal with an attorney who thought that he was running the town and thought that he could come to the mayor and the town administrator and push something through. Maybe it was a good deal, but that's not the point. That's not how it's to be done. The point is that he is not supposed to have that kind of power over anybody here. The second thing is, when I said that Holly needed to have better education, and I put in yes, she needs to get a B for reimbursement, that is standard process among just about any employer. Send someone to school and say, we want to help you improve your credentials, we want to keep you up there. They say, yes, we will pay you, we expect you to get a B or better. That isn't punitive, that is standard. And it was punitive, ever. And yes, I did say that we should dissolve the committees and reform them because the town charter says this body is responsible for forming those. Our mayor came on board having already formed the committees, already populated them, and simply told us, yes, that this is the way it was.
But I can only give advice. Yes, I'm angry. I'm angry because not only is an attack on me, which is fine, but when you attack my family, I take offense to it. And there is no reason for this. There is no reason. As I stated before, this town council has accomplished a lot of things. I'm not suggesting that other town councils haven't accomplished things, but this town council has come and accomplished a lot of things. And it was my hope that this town council would continue on that course and work together. Disagree, fine, but do it in a civil manner. There is nothing that was being hidden to anybody. Holly has purchased chemicals for the pool that, you know, I may be wrong, $8,000, $10,000 at a time to keep that pool open. Nobody has said anything. Has anybody asked why she went down to Gloucester to buy those? No. I think that she's doing her job. It's because I recommend somebody who I know is being very competent that can handle and make recommendations, I get thrown under the bus. It's not fair. It's not professional on your part, Ms. Hartland. It's not supported in the facts. And if you want to change it, the contract said you can change at any time. The only reason that he wanted to sign contract was for business purposes, so that there was an understanding. If you want to approve each and every contract, that's fine. I'd also, before I end here, like to talk about my review of contracts for this town. I do not review contracts to determine what the intent of the town council is in that contract. I review for legal purposes to make sure that I can protect the town on the contract. For example, if it has an indemnity provision in there, I'm not going to let the town sign a contract that indemnifies any contractor out there. If there is a dispute and it's required to go to arbitration, I'm not going to let the town do that. Now, you may take that and I'm telling you how to do your job, Ms. Hartley. I'm not telling you how to do your job. I am making recommendations. That's what I'm hired to do. So I am hopeful that all of us can put this aside and move forward. But I had to clear the air here. And if you don't want to use net interrupt, they're fine with that. But they served a purpose here. They served a purpose. It addressed issues that the town had. And for the record, I never pushed anybody to do anything. Thank you for the time.